Next guest is Sarah. She is the founder and CEO of Holdette, a professional workwear brand for women, and we'll discuss their start and their mission. Sarah is the CEO and founder of Holdette, which designs professional workwear with real pockets for women. Sarah founded Holdette in 2018 and has since been named to Boss Eno's 25 under 25 list for her work on the company, with the mission to support women from the moment they get dressed in the morning. In spring 2020, the Holdette team launched Back Pocket, a membership community providing resources for women entering the force for the first time. Welcome, Sarah.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to get to do this and connect with all of you. I have a presentation. Would it be possible to get access to share my screen?
Yes, I think I just granted it. Let me know if it works okay.
Yes, all set. Okay, are we good? Okay, awesome. So yeah, like I said, my name is Sarah. I founded a company called Holdette, which you're about to learn a lot about. I am a recent grad. I graduated in 2020, which already feels like yesterday and also a million years ago, from Boston University, where I studied computer science, which you will see doesn't factor so much into the journey, but was a great degree to get nonetheless. So I'm going to kind of talk through how I started Holdette, from the idea generation to how I actually got a clothing line off the ground as someone with no background in doing it. And then I'll cover a couple pieces of advice that I have for getting off the ground yourself. And then we'll take questions at the end. So in 2017, I was a senior in high school and was taking a shower one day. I was not going to include a photo of that, so we went with this cute photo, this video of me when I was a senior. I was taking a shower one day because that's where I have all my best ideas. And I was like, how come whenever I leave the house, I have to carry my phone and my keys and my wallet in my hands or in a purse, and none of my male friends ever have to do that? And I realized it was because they always had pockets in their clothes and I never did. And just knew immediately that I wanted to do something about it. Being a senior in high school, I had basically no entrepreneurial resources available to me though, and I knew I was going to college in the fall. So that fall, I got to BU, Boston University, like I said, studying computer science. Started talking to all my female friends about the idea. They were like, yes, I also have nowhere to carry any of my belongings. Please do something about this. So having really no interest in going particularly into fashion, but wanting to solve the problem, I started by aggregating clothes with pockets into a newsletter. So I would pull clothes from Forever 21 or from H&M or Madewell and basically see if the model's hand was kind of in her pocket. And then I was like, yeah, we're going to count that. And then I would put it in a newsletter. So we'd do 4 pairs of pants with pockets, 4 dresses with pockets. And this allowed me to start kind of understanding what did people want to see, what styles were people were resonating with people, what stores did they like to shop from, what price points were accessible to them. For a while, I had 100 people subscribed to this newsletter, and half of which were men, which is basically useless, but you really have to start somewhere. So eventually took what I did in the newsletter and built it into a website where we basically curated clothes into different categories. So as you can see in this video, we did workwear, weekend wear, workout wear, and then wind down, which is our more casual clothing. We used something called affiliate marketing. So I made 2 pennies every time someone clicked on one of these pieces of clothing, which was great, except for by the end of the summer, we had 5,000 website views without doing anything, but I had made $6. So it was a really strong project. It just wasn't quite the business that I wanted it to be. So fast forward to May 2019, this is me pitching at an event. At the time, what I had pivoted Holdette at that point into was going to be a platform where we were going to aggregate clothes with pockets from independent designers who made them. So kind of like an Etsy, but just for clothes with pockets. And basically pitched that to this panel. It's called Dolphin Tank, so it's Shark Tank, but they're supposed to be nice to you, and was able to have a ask for the judges. And so my ask was, does it make more sense to manufacture all the clothes for these designers ourselves, or should I let them all manufacture them? And for the sake of managing fewer supply chains, they were like, oh, just manufacture it all yourself. It'll be so much easier. But at that time, I was like, well, if I'm going to manufacture myself, I might as well just design myself. And at that point, I might as well just launch my own clothing line. I know it might not seem like the most natural conclusion, but I think I'm one. I like to come up with ideas and then like pretty immediately execute on them. So unfortunately, starting a clothing line is not something you can do so immediately. It's taken about 18 months. And I just now am finally getting the clothes that we decided to launch, which is a blazer and pants. I have the blazer right here. Together they have 8 functional pockets, so we kind of made the pocket dream come true. But I want to kind of talk through, how do you go from like, okay, now I want to launch a clothing line, to like, how do I actually do that? Because I think it's like a really difficult process for like basically no reason. So to get into that, yeah, getting off the ground, the design process. So, and just to clarify, I literally knew none of this when I started. Like every time we're going to click to the next thing, I literally learned that like because I needed to learn how to do it on the fly. So started with sketches and inspiration. I basically went on Pinterest, downloaded a bunch of photos of pieces that I liked, and then tried to sketch them myself. That was like kind of a hit or miss depending on the piece. And basically pulled stuff together that I thought I would want to wear, and that I thought that my target customer would want to wear, and that I thought I'd be able to add pockets to in a functional and cute way. So started with the sketches and the inspiration. The next step after that was to do flat lay drawings, which is just like a fancy term for like better drawings of the clothes that you want to make. I had this book, which is pictured here. You can kind of see the title, which is called Flat's Technical Drawings for Fashion, which outlines more clearly how to draw the clothes that you want to draw. To be super honest, I would just take pieces of paper, over like put them on top of the book and like trace the clothes and then make modifications from there, but you know, make it work. And then I would go and annotate the things that I wanted. So I want like the lapel to be this big. I think that the pockets should be here. I want this many buttons on the sleeve, stuff like that. So after that, the next step is patterns and muslin samples. So muslin is this like thin fabric that you can use to kind of mock up what your piece would look like before you do like the actual sample, because when you do the actual sample, you need to have gotten fabric, and that is really expensive and can take a long time. So you can do a mock-up in muslin, see generally what it looks like. This is my friend Natalie. Honestly, now like 15 months ago, with our very first muslin sample of what we thought that the suit might look like. So kind of like I was talking about, as you go through that whole process, you need to source fabric. This was definitely one of the harder parts of the process, just because I wanted our fabric to be super sustainable. But as you would find out if you went to source fabric for suiting, a lot of the fabrics that are sustainable are also really comfortable, which is awesome, but it means that they don't really hold their structure very well. And so you basically end up having what is like a sweatsuit. If anyone's ever seen New Girl, the episode where Nick and Schmidt like try to pitch the sweatshirt suit to Lori from Shark Tank, it was basically like that, the first fabrics we used. And so we had to go through this fabric sourcing process a number of times to finally find fabrics that were able to hold their structure. And we ended up optimizing for what's called like longevity sustainability versus like closed loop sustainability. So like our pieces unfortunately are not biodegradable, but you also probably would never need to replace it because it's going to last you forever. And then hopefully when you're done with it, you can pass it on to someone else, and so forth. And then one day it'll become vintage, and that would be kind of exciting. So yeah, this is that first fabric sample that I talked about. You can see like it looks fine, but it like drapes very casually. It doesn't have like a professional structure to it. And so we had to end up changing it. We did 2 more rounds of fabric samples after this one. Fun fact though, the fabric that we made that first suit out of became the curtain behind me. So, you know, you win some, you lose some. Once we had this fabric sample, we were able to make changes, figure out what else we needed, like parts of the suit we wanted, some of the pockets needed to be deeper, some of the like the length of the blazer we adjusted, the way that the like pants looked around the waistline we adjusted. So stuff like that, that kind of can take a little while, but you know, eventually pans out when you get to the like through the process itself. And then once you've done all that, the like basically very last step is called grading, which is where you take the patterns, which is what you use like cut out to make the clothes on the fabric. You take those and you put them into all the different sizes you want. So unfortunately, you can't just like add 1 inch everywhere and then it's a size bigger, because you'll get like disproportionate size things once you increase the size. So what you want to do is start in the middle. So our middle size is 6, and then you size down and you size up, so that you're not having too much like extra fabric, or it's not too cinched in certain places when you go down or you go up. So you grade at the very end because you want your suit to, or your piece to basically be perfect before you get into this process. Otherwise, you're going to have to regrade if you make pattern changes. So this is very last step. And well, very last step in development. And then you finally go into production, which is when it finally starts to get exciting. If you're considering starting a clothing line right now, I'm personally might wait to go into production until like September, because Corona is straight up the worst. But it is definitely exciting to like finally get to hold your product in your hands after you've gone through like that entire process. So yeah, that is kind of how I started Holdette, but I'd love to share a couple kind of takeaways as well if you're thinking about starting your own business. So this is like my mini guide to being taken seriously. And the first thing is I coined this term a little bit back, called the Phineas and Ferb effect. I don't know if everyone's familiar with the show Phineas and Ferb from our childhoods, but I'll just recap. So basically there's Phineas and Ferb. Every day of the summer, they build a roller coaster, or they build a machine that allows them to talk to animals, or something else crazy. They're also supposed to, I think, be like in elementary school, maybe older, but the whole point is they're very young. And so every day, someone comes to drop off the materials that they need to build their invention. And they're like, hey, aren't you a little bit young to be doing this? And they're like, yes, we are. Okay, so here's why I love that, is that being 21 myself, I'm constantly in situations where I'm like, should I be allowed to do this right now? Or like, are they really going to let me do this? Like, there's been times where I'll talk to people and they're like, yeah, and then we'll like ship stuff by sea freight from China. And I'm like, I feel like a child. I don't know if I should be allowed to ship things by sea freight from China, but okay, yeah, I guess we'll do this. And so what I've really learned from my last 3 years running Holdette is like, if you believe that you should be doing something, or like you have the confidence to like show up and like do the thing, people will just take you seriously, which is like kind of like a little bit crazy. I do want to clarify, this is different than imposter syndrome, which is like its own whole thing. This is like genuine bafflement that you're able to get away with the things that you want to get away with because you have the confidence to do it. So like lesson number 1, once you take yourself seriously, other people will take you seriously. And if you don't take yourself seriously, other people will not take you seriously. So believe in yourself or other people won't, is the first lesson. I then think there are like 3 things that are helpful for getting off the ground. The first is traction. When you have traction, which could come in the form of sales, or subsequently customers, or maybe it's like social followers on Instagram or TikTok or whatever else. When you have traction, then people can see that your idea has been validated in some way. And so it's just kind of helpful to try to get whatever numbers you can up. So if you don't have your product yet, try to build your social following. If you have your product, try to get sales. Once you have sales, try to get repeat customers. So it's kind of like a cycle. But any way that you can kind of be proving to other people that like they should also be taking you seriously is really helpful. And then once you have traction, you can start to develop partners. So partners are like huge for helping to expand the word about what you're doing more quickly. So I don't know if anyone here is familiar with Her Campus, but they've been really helpful for us. We participated in their business plan competition last summer and have been able to benefit a lot from just press from them, social media coverage, that kind of thing. So they've been really helpful. And then the other main big strategy that we've had is partnering with different clubs on college campuses. So we'll partner with like women in business clubs or fashion clubs, and I'll like share about Holdette, and then we'll give them, you know, discounts to our products or stuff like that kind of in exchange. And then they kind of are ambassadors for Holdette on their campuses. Another thing we've done is run big public events. So starting in August, we started running monthly public workshops open to everybody on job success and career-related topics. Since we do make workwear, preparing people for the workforce is kind of our natural extension. And those have been really awesome, just for, getting the word about Holdette out in a really like helpful context for people. So I think whenever you can run events and bring in other people who might be able to promote it as well, that's really going to help you. And then the fourth kind of partner we've had is Perks Partners. So we run a membership program for recent grads, and we basically partner with brands like ClassPass or like Pella or Bright Sellers, and they give us discounts to give to our members. And so you can a lot of brands would be willing to do this. And so you can like benefit from their generosity to then market your own stuff. So those kind of partners, but obviously this is just like a short list of like different kind of partner ideas. And then the third thing that I think you absolutely need is mentors, for like three main reasons, but also like just like an infinite number more, which is like to get introductions. Once you have mentors, they have their own networks. They can help you by introducing you to other people that you might benefit from meeting to help you grow in your business. Obviously, mentors provide a lot of advice. I've been fortunate to have mentors in fashion and in business and social media and kind of all this stuff where I can pull on their previous expertise to help me grow. Because even though I now know some things, there's a lot of things I don't know. And so I rely on a lot of my mentors to help me along that process. And then the third is just having like a little bit of legitimacy to say that someone who's further along backs your idea, especially if you decide to ever do a pitch competition or even go fundraise money. Being able to say, hey, these people have decided that my idea is worth investing their time in, maybe you should invest your money in it as well, kind of helps build some legitimacy around what you're doing. So take yourself seriously, but then work on building traction partners and mentors. So that was like my little spiel. I love to talk to people who want to start their own businesses or that want to run communities or really anything in between. So this is my email address. I check it too many times a day. So feel free to reach out. And then my social handle, Holdette social handle, follow us on Instagram, and then our website as well. And feel free to slide into our DMs as well. I check them all the time. So yeah, happy to take any questions that people might have.
That was awesome. Thanks so much. We have a question in the chat asking, have you ever had a product that didn't really sell and you're left over with a lot of the product? If that were to happen, what do you suggest to eventually sell?
Totally. So our suit is our first product that we're launching, and we're just launched it this month. So haven't totally run into that problem. I would say 2 pieces of advice. First, if possible, order as small of a minimum order, like order as few pieces of the thing that you're going to sell as possible. It's better to sell out and tell everybody that you sold out and then put people on a wait list than to have excess product, especially because if you can create kind of like hype around having a wait list, then probably more people will want to join the wait list. So definitely like always have as few pieces as possible to sell. And then if that were to happen, I would suggest mostly doing like a sale, or if you have other customers that have bought stuff before, you could try to upsell them. So let's say I have customers who just bought the blazer and we have like too many pants left over at the end of a season, then I can be like, hey, person who bought the blazer, you should buy the pants because they match. Here's 10% off for you to go and do that. And so you can kind of upsell the customers that you already have. But yeah, otherwise just doing sales generally helps. And also I've seen people do like bundles. So if you have like 2 products that aren't selling as well by themselves, maybe you can package them together, sell them for a slightly lower price, and then be able to get more people to buy them.
Awesome. I'm kind of curious about, I'm sure COVID has had many effects, obviously, and you kind of spoke about that, but what's it kind of like making a clothing brand that's, catered toward workforce and what you'd wear in the office when everyone is online?
Totally. So what has actually been super interesting is that we're a small brand. And so a lot of people that are purchasing from us either know me or they've heard about us in some way. And we found that a lot of people are actually like still dressing fairly professionally for certain industries. So if you work in consulting or you work in finance or, another business related field, the chances that you actually still need to get dressed in the morning are pretty high. And so we've been kind of fortunate to kind of find and reach those people. what's been really kind of encouraging, take it how you will, is like, we also know that we're going to go back at some point. And so we've seen a lot of people be like, oh, I just want to like shop because I love shopping and I'm going to invest in my like future wardrobe. And so catering to kind of those customers as well who know that they're going to need a blazer at some point, and whether or not they buy it now or they buy it in 6 months, it doesn't really make a difference.
Awesome. So we also have another question asking, are there pockets on the inside like men's blazers?
Should we just do a little demo? Okay.
Yeah.
This is the blazer. So cute. Okay. So on the inside, there's 4 pockets. They look like this. Let me just drop my phone in so you can see. So they could all hold your phone without the risk of it falling out. So there's 2 on this side, and then there's 2 on this side. Cute little message. This one says, this suits you. How freaking cute. So yes, 4 pockets on the inside and then 2 pockets on the outside as well. Look how big my whole hand. So yeah, this one has 6 pockets, and the pants have 2 front pockets. We don't really believe in back pockets because as soon as you go to the bathroom, your phone just will fall. And even if the pocket was really deep. So we invest in the front pockets.
I love that. That's great. Jessica in the chat is asking, what products are you considering dropping next?
Love that question. So we've been talking to our community a lot about this. We've done some designs for dresses. We've done a jumpsuit. And the kind of other kind of cool thing about it being a community driven brand is that while we're focused on the clothing products, we're also focused on like our community products, I guess you could say, and like our community offering. So we're getting ready to ramp up now a pilot program for recent grads to be in these kind of like small groups where we'll talk about, finding belonging and setting boundaries and building relationships. And so you get to meet other recent grads, ideally like who live near you, so you can build friendships and have that kind of like workforce support as well. So that's kind of our next like community product that we're getting ready to launch. I'm happy to drop the link if anybody is interested in learning more about that.
Awesome. And what does a day in your life look like working on your startup?
Oh, no 2 days are the same, but typically I'll wake up, do my morning routine, get breakfast, try to sit down at my desk by like 8:30 or 9. On Monday mornings, I have team meetings with my team, like one-on-ones all morning. And then we have team meeting all together on Thursdays. So those are kind of, those like bookend the week a little bit. But a lot of times I'm either getting work done, like doing content planning or communicating directly with our community, or I'm meeting with other people. So that's typically like people who could be good like networking contacts or people who have stuff that I could learn from, or like mentor meetings. And then sometimes I'll go to like trainings or workshops to learn new skills as well. So every day is kind of different. And then I live with my family right now. So cute little post-grad pandemic vibes, but typically we'll end my day sometime between like 6 and 7 when we all have dinner together. So kind of a long day, but love what I do, so I guess it's worth it.
That's great. Brody is also asking, sorry if you mentioned this, but do you work on your business full time, or do you have a side hustle to help pay the bills?
Yeah, also love this question. I feel like we're like a tight group, so I'll just be honest. So right now I don't really have a lot of bills because I live at home, but I really want to move to New York. That was kind of my grand plan post-grad. And so right now I'm actually in the middle of interviewing for a couple jobs to kind of facilitate that move. And then I'll work on Holdette on the side until Holdette then makes enough for me to like quit again. So both, I guess, is the answer to that question.
And what are some of the biggest challenges you've had while creating this business?
Yeah, I think being pretty young, like I said, I'm like 21. As soon as you have to start managing other people, it actually is like pretty difficult. And especially learning the difference between being a manager and being a leader. If you've ever led like a club on campus or, done some kind of student organization, for me, that was more like I was being a leader. I didn't have to like directly manage anybody. Like their contribution to the organization like was not going to make or break it in the same way that running a business is. And so figure out how to manage people that were the same age as me, but also kind of do it in a way that's like friendly, but also respectful. And we have stuff we need to get done, but like balancing kind of those personal relationships has been a challenge, but something I'm like proud of, like my personal growth on over the last kind of couple months.
Definitely. I guess kind of going off of that, what leadership tips, tricks, any of that do you wish you had known when you first started?
Good question. Good question. I would say you don't have to be everybody's best friend to still have a good working relationship. It can be difficult to kind of balance wanting to accommodate everybody's individual needs and wanting to keep everyone happy when maybe like some balls are being dropped business wise. And so as a founder, as a leader running something, it's your job to kind of like lay down the law and keep things in order. And that's your first job. And then maybe your like second responsibility is to like be someone's friend. And just remember that is like the order that things need to go in, or you can kind of let people slack off because you want to be nice to them.
So we have a question from Ella. How do you make sure people are working towards your views on what you want the product plus business to look like?
Totally. So I think a lot of this comes from meeting a lot and planning together. You want people to feel invested in what you're doing together and feel like they have some kind of stake in it. And because when they do that, then they're going to be more excited to execute on the vision. The other thing is like at the end of the day, like as a leader, it's your job to kind of steer the ship on what the products and the business are going to look like. And so just remember that you're allowed to like have opinions and voice them, and at the end of the day make the final decisions. But for like the sake of team morale, it's always good to make sure other people feel included in the process.
This is a little more big picture. I know you kind of touched on it before when you were talking about pitching, but in terms of funding and how, if someone wanted to get started with that, but they literally have no idea where to start, what are kind of the best options and how do they go about that?
So the easiest way to like get funding, I think, that doesn't involve you giving up like equity or percentage of your business is through either like a business plan competition or through a business accelerator program. And a lot of schools run these now, which is really awesome. BU ran one that I did and was able to get money from that. The other thing is crowdfunding. I crowdfunded last May on a platform called I Fund Women. Which if you haven't heard of it, but you think you might need money someday, I Fund Women is like 100% the place that you should do it. They have so many resources for people to get their ideas off the ground and help them like strategize on how to fundraise effectively. So those as well, I've obviously put a little bit of my own money into it, but I've been fortunate to kind of get to participate in these various accelerators and then crowdfunding. The next step kind of from there, if you've already like done that or you like need more money, would be to go and probably raise from angel investors, at which point you need to give up like a percentage of your business. But that's kind of like when you need heavy duty money, I would say like over $50,000 to $100,000.
Awesome. And I guess this is kind of like a long picture question, but where do you see yourself and Holdette in 5 years?
Yeah, I think our community is like really the future for Holdette. I absolutely love supporting women who are entering the workforce for the first time. I mean, truthfully, that is also me. And so I feel like running my company, I also get to like make new friends, which is just the best. And so I'm really excited to see, you know, through our products, through our community, how we can be kind of doing that all inclusive, like from the moment you get dressed to the moment you sleep, how can we support you from college to the workforce?
Awesome. Well, that was so great. Thank you so much. I'm really excited for everything moving forward too. It sounds like COVID's put a little bit of a damper, but you're still kicking it, you're scheming. And yeah, thank you again. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. And I'll drop the link to those community groups that I talked about if any recent grads are interested in joining. But yeah, awesome. Super nice to talk to you guys.
Awesome.